We're back. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of No Longer Silent. I am your host, Navita Milton Riley. If you are joining us for the first time, then I ask you again, where have you been? If you are a returning listener, we thank you for your time. We thank you for your support. And we are forever indebted to you for your love. No Longer Silent has been on a journey. And fortunately or unfortunately, however you choose to look at it, this is our final episode for season 1. But don't you worry, we are going to be back for season 2. Today's episode is going to look a little bit different. I don't have a guest with me today, but I will be sharing a story. Not mine, but I will be sharing a story of someone who reached out to me, wanted to share their story, but they're not yet ready to be so open. And I thought that was very brave and very creative. And so this person has sent me their story, and I'm going to be reading it to you because sometimes being no longer silent looks like that too. It doesn't always seem like you coming on here and sharing your story yourself. But I believe that this is the first step to her healing and restoration. And listen, I'll take it. But before we get into the story, I do want to just take care of some housekeeping, if you will, and just bask in the support and the love that we have been getting. The No Longer Silent podcast started on somewhat of an iffy journey. We were not sure where we were gonna go. We were not sure where this journey was gonna take us. But the goal that we had in mind was to start a process of healing and redemption and restoration. And that has been happening. And so I just want to go ahead and share with you guys some of the responses that we have been getting since we released our very first episode. Some of these people have reached out to me directly. Some of them have reached out indirectly. That's through a friend. And so I'm going to just share a few of the responses that we have been getting. One person said, "Tell Sister Riley that her podcast has been an inspiration, so much so that I am now having counseling and therapy." Another person said, "I've listened and I'm truly inspired. God bless you. We all have hurt, but we also have a healer. May God continue to bless you. Praying for your strength to carry on this task in helping these sisters share their stories, to assist those going through similar situations, that there is still hope in God." The final one that I'm going to share, it says, "God bless your soul. I know for sure your bravery has helped so many of us young sisters. And I know that it wasn't easy speaking out about what you went through at such a tender age. I'll be praying for you, and I'm really glad you're healed from this. Continue living for God and inspiring us young sisters." And so I realized that this is bigger than me. And this is not even about me, but it's about those of you out there who just needed a place to start. And I am so happy that no longer silent can be that place. I am also happy to say that since the inception of this movement, we have been having a number of listeners from around the world. Countries like Jamaica, of course, because I am Jamaican. The United States, of course, again, because I live here. Canada, Bahamas, St. Kitts and Nevis, Greece, Trinidad and Tobago, and finally, Japan. To all of you out there who are listening from wherever you are listening from, thank you is a grave understatement. We really do appreciate you. And so, for those of you who are listening who might not know me personally and would want to be in touch or just to reach out and to let me know how has the podcast been impacting you, or just to say hello, or if you have a story that you would like to share, you can send me a message on Instagram. My handle on Instagram is Nikki_Riley92. That's Nikki_Riley92. Or you could just search for Navita Milton Riley. Slide into my DMs and send me a message. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know how the podcast has been impacting you. All right, so I just wanted to touch base with all of you before we get into the story and to just let you know that you can reach out to me, all right? And you can put a face to the name, all right? So we are going to get into the meat of the matter right now. I am going to share this story. And like I said before, this person wanted to share but was not necessarily at the place yet where they could come on and share their story personally. And I just want you to know that that's okay too. If you are not ready to publicly claim that this is what I've been going through, then that's okay too. But I believe that it's a first step to getting your healing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and give this person a name just for the sake of the podcast. And the name that I chose is Sarah. Because Sarah, if we know the story, went ahead of God and she committed an act that was not pleasing in God's eyes. But if we know the story of Sarah, she later became the mother of Israel. And so I just feel like this person needed to be called something that represents restoration, because I feel like God is still working at your story. It's not over. And so I'm just going to share with you. I was born and raised in the church. My family and I attended church services every week, from church on Sabbaths to Sunday and Monday night services and first Sunday fasting services. For years, I found myself drifting away from God, from the things I knew was right, and even from my family. I fell off track so many times that I have lost my way. I know the way home, but somehow, sometimes the flesh tells me it's best to stay lost. And I have been lost for so long that I now believe it. I try to fight the thought at times, but only when I think I'm in trouble or I'm in a little bit over my head. But as soon as things are a little better, I forget that I am in trouble and I need help. Growing up in the church doesn't mean we don't face the same issues as those in the world. The only difference is that as the church, we hide our problems and cover our feelings with a smile. And that has been the downfall of a lot of church folks, including myself. For years, I struggled to find where I fit in. Being the child of a minister is so hard. So much is expected of you. There is no room for mistakes or grace. And so I fell short of living up to those standards. At the age of 16, I found myself pregnant because I lusted for fleshly desires. When I found out I was pregnant, I had to stop attending church because I could no longer stay with my parents due to my dad being a minister. I was humiliated and ashamed. I felt like my life was over. I went to stay with my family members. The good thing was I had the support of my family to help me through it, but it was hard to attend school. I didn't have the help of the father of my child as he ran away from his responsibilities. During the period when I was pregnant, my entire family was ridiculed and looked at differently. This hurt me to my core because I was at my weakest and my family had to face that same hurt. After that chapter in my life, I returned to Christ, but I was still struggling to stay afloat because my body was back in the church, but my mind was not. In 2016, I made a decision that much thought was not put into, and that's when the real struggle began. I decided to move out of my parents' house and figure things out on my own. After leaving my parents' house, I got into a relationship that was not good for me. I prayed relentlessly for God to show me a way out, but every time I was pulled out, I went back to the same mess. I was faced with verbal, physical, and emotional abuse, and I questioned why. I couldn't see where I was going wrong in the relationship. I spoke about it with many, but they couldn't seem to understand and give me the answer I needed. So I started to talk to God about it. I would sit in my room and cry. I cried day after day, questioning a relationship he was telling me to pack up and leave. But because I didn't love myself enough, I was seeking love where it never even existed. Funny enough, at a point, I started telling myself this is just a phase and it will pass. After 3 years, it was still the same. I started visiting church occasionally, but because of my current state, I couldn't concentrate on a relationship with God. I found it hard to pray to the point where I didn't know what to say to God anymore. It's like my mind was blank. I know I failed God in every way, but I was still hanging on to the hope that there will be a turnaround in my relationship. I'm still being haunted by my past and my situation. where I go through a phase every month or every 2 weeks, and I wish for this phase to just pass. I need strength and I need help so I can make it back in the church before it's too late. I know I could have died during my encounter, but I know God kept me and gave me the strength to pull through. I was suffocating and being strangled, and He let me know that this is not the end. Through the words of Jacqueline Carr, who said in song, "You never knew you'd go through the thing you've been through. It is not your portion." And so, Sarah, as I am choosing to call you, I know that you are out there, and I know that you are going to hear this. When you listen to this, I am making this a personal invitation. God is a God of redemption. He is a God of healing, and He is a God of restoration. I've used that word 3 times before, but it is so true. God can truly restore. Running away from God doesn't ever solve our problems. I know that you need help, and I applaud you for your bravery, for reaching out to me and sharing your story. And even though my listeners does not know who you are, I know, but most importantly, God knows and He sees. And I want you to come back. I want you to make it back before it's too late. I am also a minister's daughter, and I understand the scrutiny and the pressure that we're put under. If we make a mistake, it's like we don't ever come back from that. But I want you to know that, like Sarah and any other woman in the Bible, when you truly surrender to God, He can and He will heal you. His arms are open, so wide. And He said that He works on the good desires of our hearts. Your desire to come back is a good one, the best one even. And so this is a personal invitation to you. Get help. Get the help that you need and make it back before it is too late. And I always leave a word of comfort and empowerment to my guest. And you chose yours. You mentioned that song, My Portion by Jacqueline Carr. I am going to read that for you. It says, "You never knew you would fail. You never knew you'd go through the things you've been through. You never knew that you would fall. But I heard His voice say, years of pain is not your portion. Failure is not your portion. Sickness is not your portion. Poverty is not your portion. You never knew you'd be broken. You never knew you'd cry the tears that you've cried. You never knew you lose the things you've lost. But I heard His voice say, I have good news. That's not your portion. Good health, that's your portion. The abundance, that's your portion. Increase, that's your portion. And most of all, I want you to take note to this part of the song. It says, I have to embrace the promise. I have to embrace the promise. So I am saying to you, you have to embrace his promises for you. You have to make that first step. You have to reach out to get the help that you so desire. We will be praying for you. I know that this entire movement will be praying for you to find your way back. Make it back before it is too late. His arms are always open to receive us when we decide that we want to come back. You are not beyond redemption. You are not beyond saving. You are not beyond restoration. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Thank you so much for listening. Remember, I said that if you want to ever reach out to me, send me a message on Instagram. My handle again is Nikki_Riley92, or just search for Nevita Milton Riley. Thank you again for joining us. We are closing out season 1, but be on edge. Be on the tip of your seats, because season 2 is coming. I am your